So we're still in the summer holidays.
Yep.
Just thinking back to those school holidays. Obviously, we go away, but you don't go away for the whole sort of 6 weeks.
No, it was 2. It was always 2.
It was 2 for you. And yeah, sometimes 2 for me, sometimes 1 for me. So I was just thinking, what do you remember what you did for the other sort of 4 to 5 weeks?
Well, I say 2 weeks, only when I was much younger, because my dad always worked in retail, so wouldn't have much time off. But when he was being paid by somebody else, which was a sort of pre-91 sort of time, then we'd have the statutory 2 weeks in the summer. When he lost his job after many years, was just made redundant out of the blue. He then had a small shop and had a small shop for years, and my mum still got it. So getting away for holidays once they had their own business that was the end of the road for that.
So you were at home a lot more then?
Yeah. But yes, I would be found on my bike most of the time.
Right.
Which is crazy to me now. I never get on a bike. If I can drive to the end of the road, I will do so. And I will enjoy it. But I used to cycle everywhere. So not only did we have the rationed food, well, I was cycling everywhere. I was probably a picture of physical fitness back in those days. But yeah, we off to Cardarlin Park, back down towards town to the castle grounds. There was all sorts of cycle paths and routes, and I'd have a couple of mates who join you on the bike. But I'd love to say loads of rebellious stuff, but it absolutely wasn't. I left that to other people.
But I am struggling to think what I actually did during those sort of long summer holidays. What? I wasn't out on my bike, definitely. Well, there was one summer I would have been out on my bike. I didn't really like riding bikes when I had my parents bought me. That was one of the.
Were you scared of riding a bike?
Yeah, no. I mean, as you often say on here that you're dyspraxic, but then seem to be quite well coordinated when it comes to certain activities.
Well, playing the piano.
Yeah. Whereas
it strikes me as odd.
I am actually very badly. I've got very, very bad coordination. So, as you know, I don't like driving very much. So I am. Yeah. So I was diagnosed with dyspraxia at quite an old age. Actually, I mean, I was in my 20s when I was diagnosed. But the lived experience of having dyspraxia meant that some things like cycling weren't that fun for me. But I do remember one summer I sort of had to, because all my mates had bikes, and if I wanted to spend time with my mates, I had to.
You couldn't walk behind them,
no,
could you?
For many years I did have. Do you remember the Scootex, the sort of BMX scooter?
Yes.
I had one of those for years, and I didn't mind that. I could do that, but you couldn't keep up with bikes realistically on a scooter.
No.
So it was good going down the hill, but when you were going back up the hill, I did have to get on board with it. So I had a mountain bike for a couple of summers, and I remember cycling from Pencoed to Ogmore by Sea.
Oh yeah, lovely
a few
place,
times with
mates
going to the castle ruins and things. So that would be a bit older, but younger. No, I wouldn't have been on my bike, because it was sort of a little bit of a one of the areas my parents did sort of recriminate with me is they we bought you this bike. They buy me bikes for birthdays, Christmas, whatever, and I'd want one. I genuinely want one, but I wouldn't use it. I do remember watching a lot of TV during the summer holidays. I don't think. I remember actually one summer, maybe more than one summer, but one summer, watching a TV show that was on every day, but it would have been on repeat. It would have been repeated. I don't know if you're familiar with it, called Why Don't You?
Yes. Yeah.
And there was, interesting, there was a wacky kid on that called Ben.
That's right, yeah.
Who used to wear a flat cap.
Funny. Yeah.
So, I found him quite amusing. No, I mean, obviously I didn't, So
I presented a programme that was about ideas for what to do in the summer holidays. Never did any of them.
No.
Never did any of them.
That's true. That's what Why Don't You was about, wasn't it?
That's right.
So I do remember watching that one summer, but that can't have been all I did, because that was half an hour.
It was half an hour. 9:35 we go on air.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So probably some summer holiday mornings. What would tend to happen is there'd be a group of us as kids that would be sort of shipped around from one set of parents to another, because childcare was. Presumably all these parents had to work and were taking different days off to be able to look after us as a group. I sort of vaguely remember going to the cinema a few times, seeing things like, what did I see? Wanting to see Batman, but then not being old enough to see Batman. So instead seeing The Land Before Time.
Do you remember going to the Odeon that was on Queen Street?
Yeah.
Before the multiplexes?
Yeah, I do. And there was that one. One of them was an Odeon, one was something else, maybe MGM.
That's right, yeah.
And they were all quite small,
Back in the day, they used to have sort of bands would come and play at them as well. I mean, even before our time, That's the sort of venues they were. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, so going to town was another.
Yeah, going to town.
I've forgotten about the TV, which we will come back to in a second. But for a lot of time between sort of 1988 and sort of 91, 92, a lot of weekends were taken up with filming. So you'd do a rehearsal on the Friday, you'd have a chaperone, and then you'd be filming on Saturday and Sunday. So I had quite an unusual young life because you were either rehearsing for or learning lines or going to the studio to do rehearsals for certain parts of each year is what I'm saying. And then it would be sort of back to the absolute grounded reality, like I've told you before. So we'd go from this sort of fantasy land, if you like, going into TV studios and talking to people you recognised off the television. Noel Edmonds, I've had conversations with Philip Schofield, Bruce Forsyth, all of these different people that you just see around the place. And I remember on one Saturday morning, the reason I know it's 9:35, on one morning in the holidays, they said, "Oh, could you come in and do the birthday slot with Andy Crane and Simon Parkin back in those days?" So yes, you'd be up at 6 o'clock in the morning, going to Wood Lane for the TV centre to rehearse the birthdays. And then you'd do the birthdays and then you'd end up introducing your own show. And that was that. So you go from weekends like that to busying yourself in Kydellin Park on your bike. But the other thing I love to do, and, you know, the incredible wage I got from Techniquest, which we mentioned last week, came into account here. But I was able to buy a Cardiff Bus Capital ticket. I think they were £1.80 back in the day. And then you could ride all day on the buses. And I loved nothing better than Cardiff buses. I could tell you anything about them.
I mean, in some ways, I'd be fascinated. I just don't think it makes good.
No, it doesn't.
Podcast content.
Well, some of it does, but
possibly. I mean, I later in my life, I spent a bit of time on the Cardiff buses, so I've got some interest there. But as a child, I didn't live in Cardiff. I lived in a little town called Pencoed, which I've mentioned before.
There's a lot going on there, I wouldn't have thought.
Not a lot going on. So if when I was a little bit older, we'd get on a train, go to Cardiff sometimes, as I say, so the cinema and things like that, or Bridgend, which is not Cardiff, but significantly more interesting than Pencoed.
Yeah.
There were at least some sort of fast food outrees and a WH Smith's.
Drop into Coity sometimes, did you?
No.
Okay.
No, just Bridgend and Cardiff. The train, because there was a train in Pencoed, train station, and one way went to Bridgend and the other way went to Cardiff. Mm-hmm. There were a few other stops. I mean, well, Bridgend was the next stop from Pencoed. If you went west, if you went east, there'd be once Pontyclean and then Cardiff. Mm-hmm. So it was fairly easy. It was fairly affordable if you bought a child's ticket. Although I think it went up to not being a child's ticket at quite a young age. Mm-hmm. But we all pretended to be children because we were actually children. I think the age for not being a child on the train, Arriva Trains Wales possibly, was like much too young for them to possibly believe we had any sort of independent income. So we'd all continue to commit fraud effectively and pretend to be younger than we actually were.
That's right. Yeah.
But actually there was some sort of moral justice there because we actually still didn't have any money. So we'd go spend our pocket money. Maybe we'd have a Saturday job and But earlier on, yeah, Pencoed would be that'd be it. So you'd go out in Pencoed and, there's a few fields. There's not.
So what would you do then?
You go into the woods. There was quite a muster woods. Where legend has it, King Arthur's buried, but I believe a lot of places have legend has it, King Arthur's buried there. Never found his grave. There were a couple of caves, I think. Old play parks. There were like swings and things. I mean, there wasn't really a lot to do. So yeah, probably did watch a lot of TV. Go out in the garden. Things like that. Nothing that exciting. So day trips out, when my parents would take us on they were kind of quite a big deal. So things like, you'll remember this, Coney Beach.
Coney Beach in Porthcawl.
Not to be confused with Coney Island, which is obviously in New York.
Yeah, very different.
Very, very different. Coney Beach. But one presumes that Coney Beach the name Coney was just appropriated from the
we
New
have
York.
to describe Coney Beach, though. I mean, it was... I mean, how do we...
Is this? I mean, I presume it's still there.
I don't think it is.
Is it not?
I think... I mean, I'm happy to be stand corrected on this, but I believe it's finally closed down. It had a number of health and safety issues.
There weren't there? Were some quite horror stories from there.
There were. It was definitely on the... was it the log flume?
The log... Which was... that was my favourite thing. I loved going on that. I mean, it's terrible, wasn't it, when you think about what subsequently happened.
I mean, some people got killed on it, didn't
I believe so, yeah. I don't think I went on it after that, but I think up until that tragedy, that was like my favourite. That... And the ghost train. I don't know if you remember the ghost.
Yeah. There's nothing scary about it.
No, it wasn't. And it was over very quickly. And presumably, Because I don't think it wasn't one of those where you bought a ticket and then all the rides were free. I think you paid for each ride. So,
And what are the ones where the cars, you sit in a car and they go round, like a waltzer? I think it's called a waltzer, actually. But you would always have almost every time I went there, I seem to remember the Bose speakers would be banging out Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
It would be going like that. And then somebody go, don't be shy, have a try. Something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's
literally
awful.
You're bringing it back.
How many times must he have said that? I mean, it might have been in a car, in fact. Don't be shy, have a try.
No, I don't think it would have been because it was Porthcawl.
It was a bit more Welshy.
Yeah.
Be shy, have a try. But they wouldn't have been local anyway. But come on, Ali. But I mean, there was not a lot I liked about it. There was the smell of dirty fat from the donut.
And I'd always want a slush puppy.
A slush puppy, yeah.
A raspberry one.
I still love a slush puppy now.
A blue one, though.
There's nothing good for you in it, but I like it. Yeah, and high salt content in them, apparently.
Really?
Stops the ice from completely freezing.
So not only high sugar, but high salt.
Yes.
Right. Probably quite a good thing to have if you've just run a marathon, but
yes,
not so good at any other time in your life. Certainly not after
but probably not very good before you did.
No, not good before, and also definitely not good if you're walking around Coney Island with a cone of chips. Cones of chips.
Yeah, cones of chips, yeah. Where it'd be saturated with salt and vinegar on the top, but then nothing by the time you got down to the bottom. Or maybe it was the other way around, because it would drain down, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be, yeah.
You had soggy ones at the bottom. No, I mean, there's not a lot about that. And the pony trekking on the beach.
No, donkeys.
Donkeys, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It was donkeys,
yeah.
Because then I remember seeing in the cinema one year, which wouldn't have been come out, it would have been a re-release because it's an old film, Pinocchio. I don't know if you remember the Disney film Pinocchio, but there's a bit where they all get turned into, all the boys get turned into donkeys, and Pinocchio, and it's, I found it very hard to disassociate the two. So actually, for a brief period in my life, I was quite traumatized by the donkeys on
overactive imagination.
Well, it is quite a horrific film, actually. The Disney, from the perspective of a small child, that's a horrendous sequence.
So of course we would go to Porthcawl and we would have to go on a long walk from right around the bay.
That's right. You couldn't park in Coney Island.
No, my dad would not. That's another thing. My dad would not pay to park. No, that was his life's motto. John will not pay to park. I mean, he'd struggle these days, wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, fair enough.
But he would park as far, if it was 3 miles away, it'd be 3 miles away, and that's where we'd park. And we would walk all the way around the seafront, probably making the same comments about, oh, look, he loved nothing better than a wag-tailed tit, or he'd have the binoculars out.
Right.
A bit of a bird watcher, my dad. He'd have the book sometimes in the car as well to look them up. And so we'd walk this horrendous amount of, oh, Dad, how far, I don't know, how long is it going to take? Even he would say, be quiet, and enjoy it, take it in. Good advice, really, I suppose, but we didn't want to hear it at that age, did you? And then when we'd eventually get round to the prize for us, which is Coney Beach, they wouldn't really want to go in there because, no, it's all too loud and too noisy and too expensive. So we'd sometimes just carry on walking along the front bit of that and not venture into...
No,
Coney. Do you know?
I think we had a few trips to Porthcawl where it was, we're going to Porthcawl, we're not going to, and it was really hard as a kid. If you weren't going to Coney Beach, well, why are we here then? Couldn't enjoy the seafront. It's quite nice actually, Porthcawl.
Oh, it is, yeah, it is. I mean, it's another rundown seaside town, but it's quite well heeled in parts.
Yeah.
So it's a nice place. So I didn't mind. Porthcawl was the least of the horrors, really. We then had pre-Gavin and Stacey facelift Barry Island.
Yeah, so I never got to Barry Island, but
a lot
of my friends did. A lot of my friends did go to Barry Island.
These were in the days when the Pontins were still on the hillside. It's now all housing.
No, because there was a boy in school. Bearing in mind, I lived in Pencoed, which was it's not far away from Barry Island. I mean, we'd tend to go to Porthcawl, but there was a friend of mine, I say friend in the loosest sense, that would be where his holiday was, in Barry Island. He'd go from Pencoed to Barry. I mean, you could do a day trip, is what I'm saying. Well,
I mean, never mind a day trip. I mean, you'd be there in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So he would go to, they'd stay in that Butlins. I mean, it was a cheap drive, but presumably they were paying just as much for that Butlins as they would have paid for a different Butlins. Or
I don't understand it, because once you're inside a Butlins, you could be anywhere.
Perhaps that was their point, is that once you're inside a Butlins, you could be anywhere. So why travel very far? Maybe they were right. Maybe they were right and we were wrong. But it did seem odd.
And then if we were really feeling, again, a nice place, but not enough to do, now where my mum and dad, and now obviously my mum for the last 20 odd years, has had the shop, was Penarth.
Oh no, I did go to Penarth. Yeah, it's lovely seafront.
Yeah, but I mean,
to walk along, but
not so much. I'm not sure about day out.
No,
I mean afternoon out. Yes,
pleasant
afternoon.
Walk along the beach.
Again, a lovely place to go now. They've done up the pier. The beach is pebbled, but it's quite nice. There are lots of nice restaurants. There's a couple of Michelin-starred restaurants now in Penarth. Penarth is very well heeled. It's not a... but when we went, we would park in the concrete that was like a carbuncle of a car park that's now been demolished. And we'd walk from there onto the pebbles of the beach and stare up at it's now completely restored, rusty pier. My dad would go, oh, look, there's the Waverley paddle steamer or something like that. And I'd think, oh, yeah, we'll go on that. Of course, we didn't go on it. But we would look at it. And then we would go into Rabiotti's.
Ice cream, or?
They would do that as well, yeah. That's where we'd go. And then we'd have a walk. Of course, we'd have to have everything involved a walk, perhaps up onto the cliffs. And then we'd walk back down again, get in the car, and off we'd go. That would be that. Sometimes St Fagans, because it was free entry. So
yes. Now, it still is free entry, but they do charge quite a lot for the car park.
Yeah, so it's not free, is it?
No, but if you didn't travel by car, it is free. So I suppose they've got you there, haven't they? But
yeah, no, there was a lot of good free things in Wales, I thought.
My children, like a trip to St Fagans.
Yeah, no, that is worth a visit.
Yeah, even today. And it's not much has changed since we were kids, but
no,
it was always quite
still that house painted red, isn't there?
It's still there.
The berry tree outside it.
Yeah,
I mean,
all of the things that you remember as a child, if you went to St Fagans, they're all still there.
The visitor centre is exactly the same.
Pretty much exactly the same. I think they might have done it.
I think they've upgraded the food a bit, but
the food's quite nice.
Yes,
actually,
yeah. But that's a good day. Lots of good days. All of these places: Penarth, Barry, Porthcawl, St Fagans, all great afternoon / day, depending on it out. But when you visit it, and the other one we would end up going to is Tredegar House, and the number of times I've circumnavigated, beautiful park, Roath Park, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Beautiful park. The number, and actually, if I was a runner, it'd be a lovely thing to do. Oh, we'll go twice around the lake.
Well, actually, when I was a runner, I did. That's where I used to do all my running.
Beautiful place. I mean, I always thought I'd always wanted to buy a house overlooking Roath Park Lake. Beautiful.
That is a lovely part of Cardiff. Yeah.
What about Parc Amargam?
Yeah, we'd go to. I remember there being a sort of zip wire thing that was quite. I think I did when I was in Cubs. We did a cub camp there. I didn't enjoy being in the Cubs.
My dad used to run our cub.
Were you a cub as well then?
I was. I was the first cub, obviously, with my dad setting up fifth Whitchurch.
You're right, yeah.
So I was immediately a sixer, which everyone thought was terribly unfair, which of course it was.
It was unfair. I was I worked my way up to, even though I hated it, I worked my way up to sixer. I was a sixer.
I was interested in promotion and stripes, even in those.
Yeah, you still are, aren't you?
I don't know why, because I've gone backwards. I now don't have any stripes.
We just get on with the show, don't we?
Yeah, I think we probably do. James Burke?
Yeah, ich bin here.
That's German.
Yeah, because I haven't done it, and I just thought, no one's listening anyway. Let's just go with something fairly mundane.
It's German. Did enjoy Munich. I will say I enjoyed Munich far more than I thought I would.
I don't know that I've ever really spent any time in Germany.
Great food, nice culture, actually. Lots of nice things to see.
I did stay in the Black Forest in a Eurocamp, on a Eurocamp site, but on my way to Italy. So we stayed for one night in the Black Forest. That's the only time I've been to Germany in my life. Seems like an oversight now, because I've been to quite a lot of places, and I've not been to Germany beyond that one night in the Black Forest, which is lovely, but yeah.
Oh, I'm pleased you had a night in the Black Forest.
Yeah, no gatto, though.
I wondered whether I was talking to my dad then when he said that. But thank you anyway.
It needed saying.
Looks like you're brandishing a postcard
Yeah,
again.
well, do you know what? In a way, it's quite evocative, in a funny way, quite evocative of Penarth to me, that.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, not now.
I mean, it's not this country, is it?
It's that sort of, it's got a sort of seafront vibe to it, isn't it?
you could imagine the sea being that side.
Yeah, I'm not saying it definitely is the seafront, that side of it, but it could be a seafront. It may not be. We don't know. It's just some pink cars parked on.
I don't know, though. I think that could also be a part of London.
Well, why don't we let our listeners decide and they can tell us? Or to be honest, with the interaction we get on this show, they probably won't tell us.
No, they won't tell us. So, I don't know. Well, there's some pink cars in the foreground that look as though they've just been AI duplicated, but
I don't think they have been, though.
I don't think they have been. But it's odd that those two pink cars were parked next to each other with exactly the same interior.
Maybe that's why the photographer took that photo.
Well, they're very much in the foreground, aren't they? So I do love a car, but I can't tell you what they are. They look American to me.
But they could be in America.
Thanks ever so much for sharing it, though.
Well, it's just the first one I picked up, to be fair. But it's got a summer vibe to it, though. Summer. Anyway, it's actually, it's sometimes hard to realise where we are on the timeline because we are recording so far in advance of when these episodes are going out. But we're actually coming towards the end of the summer holidays now.
Gracious me.
And
talk about talking our lives away.
I know. We're actively thinking about back to school. Well, no, I say that, but basically, if you go to any sort of major retail outlet in the UK, back to school seems to start happening in around
March,
as soon as Christmas is over, essentially. So you haven't left school before you start thinking about back to school. And in fact, probably the supermarkets have, by this stage, by the time this episode goes out, they've moved past back to school. Probably if you are back to school shopping now, you've already missed the window.
Why did they think it was good to say back to school with a K? Because a lot of them did that, didn't they? School. I don't get it. It's not even. There's nothing cool about it. Was that what they were trying to do?
I don't know what they were. I don't think
saying kids misspell it. But in all the times I've worked in schools, I've never known children spell that. It's typical when you've got marketeers thinking, "Oh, I know what'll be cool.
Yeah,
let's do this."
I'd need to do a bit of research into that and find out which retailers are doing that to offer further commentary.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
In truth,
I should have come forearmed with that.
It's almost. But I imagine you are talking about something.
Peacocks, I would say.
Peacocks, perhaps. Does that still exist?
It does. It's owned by the Edinburgh Woolen Mill,
right?
These days,
I don't think I could tell you where there is a Peacock.
They did. I worked for. It's another job I had. I worked very briefly in the warehouse. In fact, I think it's the only job I've ever been sacked from.
Right.
Because they had a warehouse in Sanatorium Road in Cardiff, and I was through an agency called Workforce, and he used to go, "Hello, Ben, it's Peter from Workforce. Can you get yourself to Sanatorium Road, Peacocks? He wanted you to work some night shifts." So I did it, and it was dreadful because that was where they would get in the. This is old Peacocks now, can't cast aspersions on the Edinburgh Woolen Mill version of it, but they would get in a box of 9,000 T-shirts from China shoved into one box, and you'd have to pull them all out and get them on the hangers and all the rest of it. And they had a system where it was going around the stock room it was like electronic bagging system, and I and a number of other people got in the bags and was riding around.
Right, and that's why you got fired.
That was thanks, but no thanks.
I mean, I'm going to say here and now, they were right to fire you.
Yeah, I think that's right.
They made the correct choice there.
That's right, yeah. I worked for Ben, what have you been doing at Sanatorium Road? And I'm very happy with you.
Yeah.
That's how it went.
Some Peacocks memories there that we don't...
All from back to school.
All from back to school. I thought maybe, back to school. What would a good back to school list be? If you were a parent, for example, which I am, actually. I am a parent.
Why are you asking me?
I don't know. Well, I obviously I know what you get sent. I mean, you do get sent what you...
Well, in my case, it was last year's uniform.
But I thought...
Whether it fitted you or not.
Yeah, well, there's often a sort of list of essentials, if you like, for back to school. That, and I just like to... As we work in a school, what I'm saying is maybe we could actually sort of say whether these things really are essential or not. Right, so I'm going to give you a choice now, because I've gone from printing off lists to just looking on my phone. So you can either go for the ultimate back-to-school checklist for UK parents, and that's by Clark's, the shoe
I think we go with that. It's a name brand. What was the other choice?
Ryman, the stationers, who've got the back-to-school checklist 2023.
And which do you want to go into? You want to go Ryman's, do you? But it's just going to be stationary items. We've been round stationary items before. So go with Clark's, a
Let's go with Clark's.
well-known brand.
Right, so there's a really long preamble that I'm not going to read.
Probably now Chinese.
I'm just going to show you how long that preamble is.
Goodness me,
That's
forget that.
a lot of information about telling you why it all matters. But essentially, the essential back-to-school checklist.
Right.
So
okay.
number one on the list. And I'm not saying there's any comedy value in any of this. This is just, is this important or not? Like, that's all we want from you and me. Uniform and clothing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go in your own clothes and you can't go in no clothes. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious.
If you're saying uniform, you are already saying clothing, so we've established.
Yeah, uniform and clothing are the same thing.
Same thing, so-
Uniform is the clothing you wear to school.
Yes.
Yeah?
Right.
And why would you need that to be on a checklist?
That's number one on the Clark's checklist. Uniform clothing.
Uniform and
They
clothing.
then extensively explain to you what they mean by that. So if you weren't clear.
Right, can you give us some examples? Because I'm not sure what clothing is.
So school shirts or blouses.
Right.
They even then describe what they are. So
Right.
these are often white or light coloured and maybe long or short sleeved, depending on the season.
Yeah.
So this is a thorough list.
It really is thorough, isn't
Yeah.
it? But it's not a checklist, is it?
No, it's it's not a checklist. It's really long because under uniform and clothing, there's there's a long description about what that is.
Can you, the ultimate checklists
Yeah.
are on a plane.
Yeah.
And are on a plane for every procedure that they do, including, gosh, there's something happening, this plane is going down. If they pulled out a checklist like that, the plane would be in the side of the Pyrenees, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? But by the time you...
So this is a number one, uniform and clothing, a paragraph. Then after that paragraph, a list of what those things are with a paragraph underneath. I can't read all of this. It's insane.
well, we don't want you to. And neither does anybody else.
Needless to say, it's a list of clothing that you would probably have thought you would need.
So check off, you need a uniform to go to
And all
school.
of the things they've described are what I'd consider to be uniform. Right. Good.
Very helpful.
Number two.
Sometimes the ones you just happen on are the best, aren't they?
Footwear.
Wow. But that's not uniform. I think you'll find footwear is part of the uniform policy, isn't it?
Haven't been so thorough in what they describe as uniform being. They missed off footwear.
I wonder why they've got footwear as a separate item, being a footwear company.
Confusing, isn't it? They've only got two subcategories, although a lot of writing still, which would be in addition to. So obviously they're counting. They didn't list shoes, but they've sort of described shoes in this. They've also said you also will need indoor shoes or plimsolls.
It's been a long time since I've heard that phrase.
And school trainers.
Word even.
So there you go.
Well, don't forget the plimsolls.
Right.
Do you remember in Wales we used to call them daps?
Yes.
Have you got your daps
I do
on?
remember calling them daps, yes.
Well, daps. Have you got your daps? Put your daps on.
In fact, I wouldn't have been able to tell you what anyone meant by the word plimsoll till I was an adult,
No.
I'm pretty sure.
But dap meant those...
The sort of
bringing
black
peacocks back in.
Yeah.
They would sell them, wouldn't they? Just with a little hanger and something holding the two daps together.
Which, interestingly, that's not something I've ever had to buy for my own children.
No, so daps are out.
They seem to be out now, yeah. So let's go to number three. PE kit and sportswear.
It's all part of the uniform.
You'd
all
imagine...
of those. 1, 2 and 3 are the uniform list. Ask a uniform list from any school. They'll have all three of those things on there.
Yes, I would say so, as I work in a school as well. Right, so number 4.
I wasn't saying you should ask any school for
but
a uniform
these parents should,
yeah.
The people were trying to help. Don't exist, really.
And we're not a public service broadcast, are we?
We're not a broadcaster of any description, really, are we? But number 4, stationery and supplies. Well, that's at least something different.
It is something different, and I will give them that on a checklist. You do need to have stationery.
And then they've broken that down into what you'd need. And that's, to be honest, we've covered all of that.
Different types of pencil. Yeah, we've had a list for that.
Yeah. So if you want to know what stationery is, go back to our episode 6.
Or we could direct you to the Ryman's list from 2023, which we nearly went through.
Number 5, backpacks and bags.
I think they'd both be described as bags, wouldn't they?
A backpack is a bag.
And once again, that's part of the uniform list. You will find a backpack or a school bag is part of the uniform list because they can't just have anything, can they?
I feel I've done this list a disservice in that I've not I'm not deep dived into it and I've not read all of the other stuff. But as it happens, we've come to the end. That's it. That's the entire list.
Wow, what a useful checklist that was.
However,
Not school books. We haven't got anything about school books or
No. So to give it, there's a lot more writing.
calculators or...
There is a lot more writing for each of these, so I have done a disservice. But to go back, because there are only 5 items on the list. Item 1, uniform and clothing. Item 2, footwear.
Yeah,
Item
uniform.
3, PE and sportswear.
Uniform.
Clothing. Item 4, stationery and supplies.
Yeah.
What do they mean by supplies? Well, I'd know if I'd read it, to be fair.
Well, get your sandwiches out of the freezer, I
And
suppose.
number 5, backpacks and bags. So that's the ultimate guide. But they have helpfully offered some smart tips for back to school shopping. So
All right.
I'll just run through those with you as well.
Yeah.
And that'll bring us probably up to where we need to be. So tip 1, shop early.
Well, yeah.
Tip 2, label everything. Everything.
So
Tip,
I can see that's important for the DAPs, but I mean, it's because they all look the same, don't they? But you don't need to label everything. You're not going to take some things off, are you?
well, no, exactly. Tip 3,
Yeah.
bearing in mind you've shopped early and you've labelled everything,
Yeah.
check for uniform swap schemes. That would be tip
Right.
1, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit late now.
Yeah. To prevent you from having to spend quite so much.
Yeah, but tip 4, buy in bulk. Well, buy what you need. You don't need to buy in bulk. Anyway,
Yeah.
tip 5,
20 shirts, please.
prioritise quality, such as presumably what Clark sell. And
Yeah.
tip 6, I think this is, involve your child.
Well, they're going to be involved because they'll be wearing it,
It's
won't they?
literally all about your child, isn't it?
And I suppose if it doesn't fit and you haven't involved your child, more fool you if you're buying in bulk.
Although this is more about keeping them engaged, apparently. Let them choose the lunchbox.
Right, okay.
right.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember any mention of a lunchbox on the checklist.
It was under supplies.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you
Well,
go.
that's a catch-all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Supplies.
And yet they didn't catch all, did they? But they've actually, after all of that, they've got some final thoughts, but I can't read those. There's just too many words.
Well,
so
look.
Clark's, though, it's all there on the Clark's website if you want to look that up yourselves.
Yeah, very useful checklist to download and to keep with all the others that we've given you over the last however many episodes it is.
20.
Wow. Fantastic.
21.
Gosh, is this...
This is episode 21.
I need you to look up now.
Which means we
what
are
the
now...
21st is in anniversary terms.
I can't right now, but 3 times Pod Fade Survivors.
3 times Pod Fade Survivors.
3 times Pod Fade Survivors.
Yeah.
On episode 21, we've done it. 3 times.
Is that magic 7 times 3, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well done. Well, it looks like it looks like the listeners have been saved by the bell anyway. So unless you've got anything to add.
Well, I would just say check out that Ryman's list as well.
Well, it's bound to be very helpful.
Top tips for 2023 probably still hold true in 2026.
Yeah. And I doubt there's anything repeated in any of the numbers either.
No. It'll be, we're not going to read it
And
now.
being unselfish as these retailers are, there probably will be very little reference to stationery in there.
Yeah, no, hardly any.
Yeah.
I'd imagine they mention clothes as well.
Because they're just doing everyone a service. And we'll be back to do you a service at the same time next week for that early morning drop. And,
and that'll be on a bank holiday Monday. So
make sure you're up at 6.
even fewer people will be listening than have been, even with our reduced numbers over the summer. But that will be the last episode before we go back to school proper. So,
and we really sort of shake things up with a new look and a few different features. It's going to be amazing.
God, I hope it is. We've really sort of bigged this up now, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah.
As much as we can.
Fortunately, no one's listening, so we've only promised a few people. Hardly any people will be aware that we've got these grand plans.
And on that note, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.